Welcome to Excel Boats on the X Podcast, powered by Mud Buddy Motors.
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
The only podcast to bring you insights on the world of hunting, fishing, and boating. With your host, J. Paul Jackson.
You don't say much, do you?
Now, load up and sight in. This is On the X.
Welcome to the Excel Boats on the X Podcast, powered by Mud Buddy Motors. J. Paul Jackson here, back with you this week with co-host Dave Reynolds, coming to us from West Jordan, Utah. How you doing, brother?
Doing great, man.
Yeah, and we've also got, I think Jeffrey's back with us this week. What's been going on, Jeffrey?
Not a whole lot. I'm really excited to be back on the podcast, though. You know, Dave and I kind of fight over who gets to be on it, and so today we compromised, and here we both are.
How did y'all tag team?
You got it.
Yes, sir. And, of course, we're very fortunate to have with us, back with us again. We've had him on the show before and love having him back from Echo Calls, Mr. Rick Dunn. How's it going, brother?
Going good. Glad to be here.
I bet you this is a busy, busy time of year for you right now with duck season right around the corner.
Oh, we are swamped, to say the least, working early to late. But sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, we are feeling the same at Excel. However, it's taken us about 12 weeks to build a boat. I doubt if it takes 12 weeks to build one of your calls.
No, it probably takes a little less time. I agree.
Yeah, a little less time, but yeah, that helped. I wish we could build our boats in less time, but yeah, we've had a busy fall too. These duck hunters, and many of them procrastinate.
Exactly.
So true. It's been that same way at Mud Buddy as well. We've just been slammed. We've been, every minute of every day is just jam packed. So we're really fortunate that way.
So let me ask you, Rick, about all these calls you're making, what are a couple of the more popular calls you're making right now? Orders.
Well, let's see. In acrylics, the most popular color is blue pearl, and we sell a lot of blue pearl meat hangers. And
okay,
the double reeds they're a little bit more user friendly, but the hardcore duck hunters seem like they lean towards single reeds, and we sell a lot of those. Pearl colors are very popular, and the wood calls sell real good also.
Okay. What about the wood calls? The Cocobolo or the Osage Orange?
Yeah, we do Cocobolo. We do Tamboti, which is a new wood this year, and we've always done the Hedge or Boat Arc, or it's got several other names, Osage Orange. But yeah, we've got those, and then we do Bacote, and those are the four main ones. We do a little bit of Blackwood, we do a little Grenadillo, but those are the main.
Okay. And I've read somewhere that actually, I think it was an article recently. I can't remember which one, American Waterfowler, or they interviewed you, and you prefer the wood call yourself.
I do.
For most of your hunting.
I'm old school. The thing about a wood call is it has a true tone. To me, it's the truest tone, but it's got some downfalls also. It gets wet and it swells. So what I suggest to people is to take the insert out of the barrel. Have it on two lanyard loops, and just let it dry overnight after you get through using it each day. And you never have any problems when you do that. But if you leave it together and go hunt for about 3 days in a row, you'll be lucky to get it apart.
Yeah. And it will change the tone slightly if that swells, I imagine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So the single reed calls, Rick, what are some of your more popular? I know you have so many good calls. That's probably the toughest choice. You have so many options. I know you have the ODB and the breaker, and the half dozen, 8 different calls.
We have starting in volumes. We start at the lowest volume, and that'll be a timber call. If you're hunting strictly timber or really close in, I'd probably suggest that call. It's somewhat user friendly. It's got a good sound. Then the volumes go up, and we start like this is in single reads now. XLT. The XLT is louder, and it stands for extra loud timber, is what the XLT stands for. And off of that, we have a pure meat that's very similar to it. It's just got a little bit more hold, and you can get a little bit more whiny with it, and squeals and stuff like that. And probably the new most popular call is either the ODB or the breaker, and they're both very similar. Same thing on that. The ODB has just a little bit more hold than the breaker. It'll get just a little bit softer. But both of those calls are very popular. And we also make an open water call in a single read and a competition call. So yeah, about 7 or 8 single read calls.
Got it. And so what was the whiniest call?
Probably the pure meat.
Pure meat. Okay.
The XLT. Those are the whiny.
All right. Yeah, I like that little different tone, especially close in. I got a story for you. The timber. Actually, I was hunting Sunday with a timber, the salt and pepper. That's a great looking call too. I love that. And tequila sunrise, such a cool color combo. But we're hunting this smaller pothole. You could shoot across it easily. It's 40 yards by maybe 60 yards, and I was using that call. I'll give the credit to the call, but go ahead. This is the first time I've ever experienced this in all my years of duck hunting, at least over water, and I had probably 200 mallards working this little tiny pothole, just circling and circling. It was quite a sight to see. I mean, you see that hunting fields, but I've never had that many mallards, especially hunting Utah, work such a small pothole. It was, and both my kids got to experience that too. So they probably don't appreciate it because I've only been hunting a couple of years. It's like, yeah, Dad, this probably happens all the time.
Yeah, that's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, no, it was pretty incredible. But for those tiny potholes, that timber works pretty well. Don't need a lot of volume. It wasn't a windy day.
Right.
And it did the trick.
What a lot of people fail to realize is you can call ducks with a loud call, and you can get their attention, and they seem to break quicker and come towards the call quicker. But if you're not careful, especially later in the season, a louder call, you can blow them out of a hole or blow them away from you also, faster with one of those calls also.
Right. Yeah, this flock was actually several smaller groups. I just got up to the north of us, probably half a mile, and just all these smaller groups. I don't know, if they just got up to stretch their wings, because it was 11:45, and on Saturday 11:45, the exact same thing. Although not that many ducks the day before. There's probably half as many, but it's like they were on just on a clock, man. Okay, it's time to get up, stretch our wings, fly around, and then go back. But it was, several smaller groups who just got up and formed one big group, and they became a swarm. It was pretty cool.
That's a nice sight to behold. I wished I could behold one, but I'll have to wait until.
Yeah, we got to wait another month, huh?
Yeah, about another month.
So Rick, with each season, and you being the duck calling master that you are, do you use a new call every year, or do you use the same call? And how long have you used it?
Okay, I've got a green hedge call that I've had probably for between 20 and 25 years, and it's my go-to call. I like it. It's got about the right volume. You can blow it actually fairly loud, but it'll get down soft also. But I don't know. I guess I'm just old school. I like the same call. I've got 2 of them on my lanyard, but I've had the same 2 for forever.
All right. If you were going to lose those 2, if you had to give up those 2, what would you take with you day one?
I'm going to tell you probably a breaker. I like a breaker. They're very good calls. They they're very similar to the calls that I'm using, but they're just a shade louder. You just have to be careful when you got ducks in close.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So what
What
about
about you, Jonathan?
Oh, sorry, Dave. Go ahead.
That's all right.
I was just going to ask. So I know you've done a lot of competition calling in the past. Is that right?
Yeah, in my younger days. Now I hadn't in several years.
Okay. So my
Yeah,
my
he wasn't
question-
too bad in the day. What, 2-time worlds was it?
I only won it
Remind me.
I only won it
One time.
Yeah,
Okay.
I finished second twice, third twice, fourth
Mhm.
twice. And, you know, I think I finished in the top 10 like 11 out of 14 times or something like that.
Wow.
That's consistency.
Yeah. Do you miss it?
Not really. You know,
Don't blame me at all. So I was doing a Facebook Live the other day with for Mud Buddy. We do a show every Wednesday, and we went to our good friend Travis over at Backwater Performance System, and he's a competitive caller, and he's amazing. And I got to blow. I've never blown a call. It was my first time ever blowing a call, so he kind of gave us a little bit of lesson. And I can't believe how challenging actually it was to get. And he makes these sounds that are just. I mean, you'd never know that there's that much to it, but I'm always just so impressed, and it's really a cool thing. So how did you start? Like, where does this all come from, and where did your love of duck calling spawn?
well, now we're not talking about competition calling now. We're talking about just duck hunting.
Yes.
Okay. Back in 1975, when I started, I kind of just wanted to, it was a hobby. I wanted to make a call that I could use. I had no intentions of selling it. And I've told the story probably a jillion times. Everybody's probably already heard it. But the first one I made, it lacked a lot, I should say. You know what I'm saying? And you didn't really have anybody to show you how to do it. There was about 3 or 4 call makers probably that were top-notch call makers in the United States. And they really wouldn't show anybody else how to do it. So it was kind of a hit and miss, learn as you go.
Right.
So I made one. The first one wasn't that good. You could probably call a duck with it if you were where the ducks wanted to be. Anyhow, a friend of mine wanted it, so I gave it to him. And I said, well, I'll just make me another one. So I made another one. And it was a little bit better. And same thing, you know, you'd have to be in a good spot to really make it work right. And then so the third one I made actually turned out pretty good. And, you know, I enjoyed making them as, you know, as a hobby. So I wanted to keep this one because it sounded good. You know, I could call ducks better than any call that I had purchased before. And so I, you know, no, I wanted it. And I said, no, no, you can't have this one. I'm keeping it. And he says, well, I'll buy it from you. And I said, no, I don't think so. He says, well, I'll give you $40. And this was back in 1975. And I said, well, you got it for $40. I'll make me another one. And I did, and I sold it. I did, and I sold it. And, you know, and then word started going around just a little bit. And pretty soon, you know, I was just about as fast as I could make them. I was selling them. So that's kind of how I got started. Now it went from a hobby to a nightmare now.
Oh, I'm sure it's one of your loves. A nightmare this time of the year, though.
Oh, it is for sure.
But yeah, a lot less competition back then. It was primarily what, Falks, Holt.
Well,
It's ironic they don't even make calls anymore.
Yeah.
And a lot of these big wood call, you know, companies, and man, there's
yeah,
a lot of competition these days. But
back then you had Hambone, which was made in Lone Oak, Arkansas. You had Chick Majors, was made, of course, down in Stuttgart. And you had, oh gosh, there was one in Little Rock. I'm talking about custom call makers. You know,
just custom call, right? You had
started by
Jensen and
hand.
Sure Shop, but those weren't custom. Yeah.
Yeah.
Paul Kenyon calls, but he wasn't never that big, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But anyhow, there wasn't a lot. There was more than 3 or 4. You know what I'm saying? But there was 3 or 4 in Arkansas. But as far as in the United States, there might have been 15 or 20 back then.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Market has changed.
Yeah.
It has. There's hundreds of people making them now.
Yeah. And who would have thought 20 years ago, $130, $40 for a duck call.
Oh, I know it.
But same goes for shotgun and boat.
Exactly.
And waders, $500 waders now.
And waders. The thing of it is, the duck hunters, they want the best that they can get, and they don't mind, most of them don't mind paying for it.
Right. Yeah, good thing for us. Both,
Exactly.
Echo and the call makers and Excel and Mud Buddy.
Exactly.
So you've been running one of our boats for a long, long time, probably longer than any of our pro staff.
Yeah, since day one,
Yeah.
But yeah, and the boat performs flawlessly day after day after day. And it's like I tell anybody that asks me, they say, well, what do you think about the F4? That's what I use. And I said, it's not the fastest boat on the water, but it's the strongest boat on the water, and you can't tear it up. I mean, we run into trees, bump other boats. I mean, it's almost like a demolition derby out there, but I mean, it just keeps working. We have no problems with them, and it's the best boat on the market by far.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well,
What motor are you running on that?
I've got a 60-horse Yamaha on mine. I'm not now. Freddie, he runs the mud motors, and he's got two, I think.
Yes,
yep.
he does.
And he even gets crazier.
Oh yeah, and he even gets crazier.
It's like a 4-wheel drive. Yeah.
Freddie's taking it easy these days.
He has calmed down a little.
He's getting old.
Yeah.
Getting old.
I guess so. Yeah, I heard he's doing a video, about ethics and duck hunting, and yeah, pretty ironic. Going slow and easy, wearing your life jacket, and
Get safety first.
he's turned over a new leaf.
He needed to.
Yeah.
No, we're excited to see that. We did several of these podcasts. We did a 3-podcast series with Freddie just a little bit ago, talking about all the stuff we do to prep for the season, and he had a lot of really great advice that he gave out throughout that, which I thought was really awesome of him. But I wonder what do you do to prepare for your season, because yours is coming right around the corner. What do you got going on? How are you getting ready?
Well, we've got a small amount of private property. We've got 160 acres of timber, and we've been out there working on that. We've got us a boat ditch going to our hole now, where we used to have to mud in with 4-wheelers or side by sides. Now we've got a boat ditch that we can take a boat in without tearing up the 4-wheelers and stuff. And we've done some other things as far as getting ready for hunting, but it's just the closer it gets, it seems like the more you have to do. You know what I'm saying? You think you've got everything done, but then the week of, you say, oh, I didn't get this done. I didn't get this done. I didn't get this done. The best advice I can give to somebody is try to stay ahead of it, because it gets on you way before you know it.
It does, and it goes pretty quick too. You don't want to spend time during the duck season getting ready
That's
for duck
right.
season. You want to be ready to roll and get out there and hunt.
Yeah, exactly.
So what about tips on calls? Probably, the one thing few hunters do is probably tune their calls. I know I'm one of those. I mean, I've had calls for years and never took the read out or tuned it. And I'm sure they sound, I know they sound a lot different than the day I got them, but what's your advice as far as how often, how to? I'm sure that's something all hunters should most likely do, at least on a yearly basis, right? Well, depending on how much that I've heard of guys having to replace a reed after a week of hunting.
Yeah, exactly. What I tell people is, if it's not broke, don't fix it. I mean, if your call doesn't stick or doesn't have any problems and you've called ducks good, then you're good. And sometimes,
well, there you go. That's the thing is my Echo calls, they never stick. They always sound good. So that's why I never touch them.
Unfortunately, some will, because some people spit more than others and other various reasons. But the cork in a single reed call is kind of like the batteries in a flashlight. What they do is they keep the reed raised and it's kind of like the battery's keeping the light bright. So, and the batteries go down, you know, the light gets dim. When your cork gets dead, then your reed starts falling towards the soundboard, and it'll have a tendency to stick more. So what I would suggest, you know, when it does do that is, you know, just take your call and pull the reed straight out, lay it down exactly flat the way you pulled it out, because a reed has two sides to it. It has an up and a down. So, you know, make sure you keep the same side up, and then get you a fresh piece of cork and put the reed back in. It goes all the way back to the back of the cork slot. You know, get it straight and hold it down and put your new piece of cork in. And I would say to bite on the cork a little bit, make it pliable so you don't get it too tight, because you can break the cork tab. But other than that, you know, put your cork in every year or two and you should have no problems. Acrylic cawls they'll last forever. You know, they get scuffed up a little, but they still, they're very durable.
Okay, that's a good tip.
Dave, what are you using? What's your call, Dave? And how often, I mean, you say you use yours. Has that been the same one that you've used for years, or what are you using?
Oh, I have several different calls. I have, you know, the breaker, the ODB, timber, and I trade off on the calls throughout the season. You know, sometimes I'll use one particular call early in the year, maybe a louder call, go with the softer calls later in the year, or, you know, I just want to mix it up. I just use one call for a couple of weeks and put on another call just for variation. I have used your other call. Can't remember which one it was, Rick. It's a difficult one to use, but it does have a unique tone. The name just
like a cut down.
escaped me. Yeah, cut down. There you go. Cut down. Yeah. I mean that is great if you want a different tone entirely. That cut down.
They're very raspy.
Very raspy. Yeah, it sounds good, but there's definitely a learning process with that call. In fact, when I first got it, I had a pretty bad cold, and I couldn't even blow the call. You know, but well, just like anything new, you got to learn how to use it, and I think it's pretty deadly. I think it's effective to have calls with different tones and you sound more realistic, more like a flock of ducks, because you never get two ducks that sound exactly the same. So it's good to have calls with some variation in their tone to just sound more realistic, get their attention, and not sound like every other duck hunter in the marsh that's using the same call, the same tone and cadence. Right.
And, you know, some ducks will come into one call and some ducks will come into another call. It's crazy sometimes. But I've seen days where they wanted something that was really loud and they come right to it. And I've seen days they wanted something really soft and they come right to it. And I've seen days that you had to whine a little bit to get them to come, and they, you know, that's just what they're wanting, you know, so.
I've learned that, too, Rick. And I've learned that, you don't have to sound perfect either, because if you listen to ducks on the water, some of them sound terrible.
Oh, I agree.
I mean, if you were to blow a call and sound like that, you think, geez, shut up. You know, you're gonna scare the ducks. But these ducks, they don't sound perfect, and it's good to have it mixed up, and that's why I like the sounds different tones and the real whiny, real sort of snotty sounding calls. And it's good to have some variation, which is why you offer so many different calls.
We try to offer one for any situation, and but you can't make everybody happy all the time, but what you got to try to do is make most of the people happy most of the time.
Right. Yeah.
That's my theory on all of my work.
There you go.
Yeah. So Jonathan, you're still calling competitively, right?
Yes, sir.
All right.
He just won. He won $5,000 at Bass Pro last weekend.
What?
Did you really?
And that was second place. Phil Green.
Wow.
Of course, Phil works here also, and he won first place. And how much?
10,000 an ATV, a Beretta shotgun, and a whole bunch of
Yeah, about $20,000 for it.
Oh my God.
Wow, he raked it in. That must have been a big competition. What was the competition?
It was a Bass Pro, what they call Big Cypress.
national.
It's a national
Okay, a national call. All right, contest.
Yeah.
Wow.
Congrats. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
congratulations. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What?
But it probably doesn't help to be working with a guy that won. You know?
Yeah. Oh man.
Oh, no.
Now, they're buddies.
Yeah, I congratulate.
That's good.
Oh, that's good.
They would have been.
He'll let you borrow the shotgun and the ATV. And,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think they would have been just as happy if the other had won, or
Yeah.
either way. They're that close.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a pretty good standing. 2 Echoes in the top 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. But you got a lot of water this year, so you should have a good season. Hopefully it's shaping up, right?
Yeah.
It is shaping up. This is the most water we've had, although the river's not out, but this is the most water we've had in probably 3 or 4 years at this time of the season. And it's cooler down here, starting last week. I'm sure it got colder up there, but it's cooler here than normal. We're probably 10 to 15 degrees below average right now.
Okay.
So
And
it's
I
shaping
see
up.
there's snow up north of you, so you might have some ducks down there already.
Yes, we do. We do have ducks down, and there was a big, a big speckle belly migration yesterday. I mean, they came. The whole state was covered. Everybody I talked to said they were flying over their house, and they don't even
Wow.
live in around rice fields or anything else. They were just migrating.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's quite a success story. All those specs. There just seems more and more every year.
More and more people are hunting them also here.
Yeah,
It's begun to get pretty popular.
they're the best eating, I think. I'll take a speck over mallard any day.
Oh yeah, they're great eating.
Yeah.
So how's the boat building coming? Y'all been staying super busy?
We've been staying very busy. This time of the year, you walk through the plant and it's primarily the F4s. There's shallow water F4s, Viper F4s. Throughout, the summer, it's our bay boats, our fishing boats.
Right.
So we're making that transition. We still have a lot of bay boats on order, but it's, a lot of shallow water F4s. Majority of them going out in the new Optifade. I shouldn't say new. We've had that for a few years. Optifade camo pattern, Optifade marsh, Optifade timber.
Yeah.
Which we have an exclusive with, and it's a real good looking pattern and very effective in the field too. So the boat business is very good. I think and I think all the boat builders are very busy. I think the economy is good and people are spending a lot of money on their hobbies and it's good. I think it should continue. We should have a record year in sales this year.
Absolutely. In fact, we just had the big truck came by the Mud Buddy headquarters to drop off. There are 11 boats on that truck, and every single one of them is already sold.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is good.
Yeah.
Pretty happy about that.
Yeah, that's good. Guys who want boats now, at least out here, have to wait till next season.
Yeah.
How about the new boat plant in Tennessee?
Well, it sounds like from J. Paul, they're coming through on that in Western Tennessee. We're expanding the existing plant in Mountain View, and that's underway right now.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, the new plant in Western Tennessee will build some of our bigger boats. We're just running out of space, especially with some of these big boats we have, 23 footers. They take up a lot of room.
Mm-hmm.
And it's becoming not as efficient when you got these big boats. You have to move around and work around them, and
Right.
and we plan to build those bigger boats there and get in some new boat categories as well. The Midwest style boats, perhaps. Midwest style deep V boats, and
Right.
look at different models. So things are good. We're
That's
we're growing. Yeah. Well, and thanks to good spokespersons like you. You've been with Excel from day one. So
Well, the thing is,
you helped us get here.
well, I don't know about all that. I do know that if somebody wants a good boat, that's the boat to buy. I mean, and so many people around here understand that now because they've purchased other boats, and the first time they run up against a tree or something, they get a ding or a dent in it, and they say, I can't believe I just barely touched that tree, and I've got this dent in it. And I said, you need to get a boat that's well built. And the thing about the F4s is they have so many braces on them. You know what I'm saying? The front end is braced like 5 times in the transom. I mean, it's
that's what you don't see from the outside. Boats are, they're built like tanks, and we have,
right.
tons of bracing and the longitudinal rib construction. I mean, if anything, they're overbuilt.
Exactly.
Most definitely. But, we started building boats for the Arkansas timber hunters. So we had to build a tough boat, and we pretty much followed that philosophy through on all of our boats, even our fishing boats. Our bay boat is constructed like a tank, just tons of bracing. We have developed a reputation of building one of the toughest aluminum boats.
Oh, I guarantee you. It's not one of the toughest. It's the toughest I've ever seen. And I've seen a lot of them, but I've never seen one tougher. They're just, they're built the way they're supposed to be.
Yeah, and like you said, there's lots more to come. We've got, which is one of the great things about both of these companies with Mud Buddy and Excel, is that we're never satisfied. That's my favorite thing about them, is that whether it be the motors and coming up with new ways and new features and our boats of getting into these new markets. It's exciting. Keeps us busy.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
That does. Well, Pat, I appreciate the time. Hey, I got one last question. Hunting the timber, what choke tube and what load do you use hunting the timber?
Okay, we've got one of our sponsors is Rob Roberts, and they do an excellent job. They have what they call T1, T2, and T3. It's like an improved cylinder modified in a full. And so T2 is the favorite choice, and most of the guys in here are using that. And as far as gun, I shoot a Beretta. Jonathan shoots a Beretta, and they fix them up and lengthen the force and cone, and they work on the trigger. If the trigger pulls too hard, which that's a pet peeve of mine, when I get ready to shoot, I want it to go off, and if I get a gun that's got a heavy trigger pull, it doesn't go off when I want it to, and so I have an excuse for missing. So,
yeah, that's true. It throws off your timing, though. But
it does throw off your timing.
Number 4.
Oh yeah.
3-inch number 4.
And number 4s. Yeah.
3-inch number 4s. And
okay.
Late season.
Are you sponsored with an ammo company as well?
We are.
Heavy shot.
Okay.
Heavy shot.
Heavy shot. All right.
And later in the season, we might use 3s. Just because they're not as easy to fool a little bit later in the season. They won't come right in, and
right.
They might be on the edge of the hole instead of right in the middle of the hole. So kind of go with that. But we've had very good success with those shot shells.
That combination in those shot shells. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of Berettas and Benellis in Arkansas, I noticed.
Yeah.
Not too many. You don't see as many Brownings or Winchesters. I work for Browning, and I shoot Browning and Winchester. So when I bring my gun to Arkansas, I'm the only one. Only one in the blind for as many years as I've been going. With a Winchester. Everybody else is Berettas and Benellis.
I know. Browning and Winchester make good guns. You know what I'm saying? It's just we've got used to Berettas and Benellis here, and so that's just pretty much what everybody uses. Yeah.
Well, I got to stick with what works, what you're confident with.
That's exactly right.
Right.
Same goes with the boats, and same goes with the motors, and same goes with the duck calls.
And duck calls. You're right. What you have confidence in.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Well, Rick, maybe you have to go hunting again sometime. I know we did a few years ago, and
okay,
it was hunting. It didn't hit it right. It had the high water, and it made things tough. But I'm sure I'll be out again in January. So
if you
have to put something together.
If you come out, and we've got any ducks that are 160, I'm going to take you on an easy hunt. So you don't have to get up.
All right.
And we cook breakfast.
I am not used to those. I'm not used to that mallard hole I was telling you about. I hunted this last weekend.
Yeah.
About a 4-mile boat ride and probably an hour hike with the kids.
Oh,
You know,
no.
they're going slow. Yeah.
No, this won't be
In water, in mud.
This won't be like that.
Dave, your kids are gonna, when they're grown up, they're gonna be sitting around a table eating dinner one time and just telling all these horror stories about how far you drug them through the woods.
Talking about
Yeah,
battalion death march that you took them on.
probably so. That's all right. That
When they get
builds
older,
character. Yep.
when they get older, that 4 miles will turn into 8 or 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Probably so. Yep. Well, thanks, Rick.
All right, guys.
Great having you on our podcast, and you, Jonathan, too. And
Thank you.
best of luck with call making and hunting and duck season this year.
All right. Same to y'all. And thanks for having us.
Man, it's been a pleasure having you, Rick. I'm sorry that I've been in and out on the call today and on the podcast, but I can't wait to have you back again soon. For everybody out there listening, thanks again for tuning in for this week's edition of the Excel Boats on the X podcast, powered by Mud Buddy Motors.